real, raw, and unfiltered rags to riches stories from amazing human beings around the world with emphasis on life, personal development, family, tech, and marketing. Of course, I'm your host, Ivan Temelkov, and today I'm joined by a special guest, and her name is Artisha Bolding. Artisha, welcome to the RAS Project.
Thank you for having me, Ivan. I'm excited.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, before we jump in and talk a little bit about your story, because I'm a sucker for hearing people's stories, I think it's so fascinating to see the evolution of where you were to where you are today. And
hmm
let's face it, how far you've come. Because I think there's so many people, especially now in today's day and age, that just don't appreciate truly how far they've come and
hmm
really acknowledge their accomplishments. Because so anyway, before we jump into that, I want to share with listeners and viewers a little bit about your background. So you motivate women and entrepreneurs to help birth their businesses, book or brand, ensure they're no longer stuck in life but thriving in success that's aligned with their passion and their purpose. You will help build legacies of health, wealth, and wisdom through empowerment and accountability coaching. And you're also a loving wife and a firm mom. So
Absolutely.
again, thank you so much for coming on. And I know before we started, we had record. I think it's taken me 2, maybe 3 months to finally actually reach out and schedule this interview. But before we dive in deeper, let's start with your story. Tell us a little bit about you and where you've been, what you've seen. Tell us a little about your childhood and how did you get to where you are today?
Oh man, where can I even start? If we want to start in childhood, I will say when I was a kid, I literally wanted to be Claire Huxtable. I was like, I'm going to be this kick butt attorney. I'm going to marry, maybe not a doctor, but I'm going to marry this rich businessman and we're just going to rule the world. It's going to be great. And then, of course, life happens. Life has a way of making a liar out of you.
Yeah.
And so many things happen. So I am thankful that I was able to make it through the great Howard University. Shout out HU. Um, but it wasn't, I had an amazing experience, but I knew my senior year that as bad as I wanted it, I wasn't ready for law school. So I'm like, okay, what is it? What can I do? One of my advisors suggested that I go to grad school. So I said, okay, I'll work and do that. And so that thing happened. But law school actually never happened. It was always kind of in the periphery, but it never happened. And so I became a corporate girl trading money for time. And I wasn't satisfied. Like, I was, checking things off the box. Okay,
Yeah.
like, graduate, go get the job and everything. And I was in DC at the time, right? Born in Georgia, but moved to DC with mom when she was looking for work. And, everything was going on there, government, everything, lots of great jobs. But I can honestly say I've made some huge changes in other people's lives for other people's visions. And I just was never fulfilled, right? And
Hmm.
so I got completely sick of that. I mean, it was road rage. It was the dating scene sucks. Everything was just crazy, right? So I was like, dude, I have got to get the hell out of DC. And so, without very little notice, I packed everything up. I sold a bunch of stuff, gave a bunch of stuff away, and I moved to LA. And I found myself right back in government because, that's what I was used to.
Yeah.
I did a stint in the mayor's office there, which was a lot of fun. But LA is really they call it the city of angels, but it is a hellish, it is a hellish place. And I knew again, it's just like you have these spiritual nudges, I call them. Like I
Yeah.
just knew that that wasn't it. I was like, this is not going to work. I was like, first of all, this is the most expensive place in the world to live. How do regular people live here? Like it's insane. So
Yeah.
Just as I was having those kind of thoughts, again, life happened. My grandmother took very ill, and she was in her late 80s. She was actually approaching 90 at the time. And I had no family. I had one college girlfriend and a very tight knit church community
Hmm.
that I was close with in LA, but that was literally it. And so I'm like, I'm sick of, being away from my family. So I moved back east, actually down south. Now, timeline check, we're at what, 2010 now. And I'm engaged finally. So, it's like we're preparing to check off something else in the box.
Yeah.
And then got here and the job market was crazy. So I'm like head over heels in love, but the job market sucks. And mama told you romance without finance is a nuisance. Okay. Pain in the butt. So it's just like, it was really like one hit after another, roller coaster, right? Just like you see on the soaps or any other sitcom.
Yeah.
And I really just had to kind of say, okay, what is here for me? Like the family part was amazingly fulfilling. And I didn't even really know that I was missing that so much. I had been so focused with work. I mean, working 40, 50 hours per week just to, live a lifestyle that I
Yeah.
wanted, to eat where I wanted, where what I wanted kind of thing. And that halt in the job market for me gave me some time to kind of think about, okay, what do I really want to do?
Hmm.
Still didn't make a great choice. Anyway, not to prolong this part of the story, but started out in a new industry, which was healthcare for me. That's really big here back in my hometown, Augusta,
Hmm.
Georgia. And that that was just okay, but again, just not fulfilling. So fast forward, how did I get into the entrepreneurial space, which is where I've been for the last just under 3 years now?
Hmm.
Speaking of healthcare, at the ripe old age of 38, I found myself having to navigate, get this, respiratory failure and cardiac failure with no medical history. Craziest thing in the
Wow.
world. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great. So you're not to interject on the story, but I think you said 3 years ago. So you're 41, right?
Yeah.
So you're the same age as me.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I actually wanted to interject on that is because when you said that you to the part of your entrepreneurial journey when you were leading up to it, and you said 3 years now into, I'm like, oh my god, like she's so new to the entrepreneurial space. But then you said
hmm
38, and I'm like, let's face it. I think one of the biggest misconception in the entrepreneurial space is that most people think that there's a prerequisite of age to enter the space.
Yes, yes, I totally agree. And that
Yep.
is not true. And first of all, if we're not careful, these millennials are going to make us look really stupid because they are getting it and they are getting it quick. Listen, and the
Yeah.
thing about it is this global pandemic that has
Yeah.
been so crazy, it was a curse to many, but a blessing to some too, because we've
Amen.
seen so many had to get into this entrepreneurial space.
Hmm.
And these kids,
Yep.
man, I'm talking about they are really getting it. They are launching out. I've seen so many candle businesses. I've seen so many apparel businesses.
Yep.
And listen, they're kicking butt. They're really doing it.
Well, I'll tell you something is, and I want to go back actually to talking about the medical crisis, because I know
Yeah.
there's probably a lot to say about that. But I'm not going to lie, 2020 was my best year in business, coming up on almost 6 years, and I
Same.
think, as you pointed it out, is just that I think where there's a problem, there's a solution awaiting, and I think that
Mm.
a lot of people, especially that are not in the entrepreneurial mindset, really look at problems as setbacks, and problems are actually opportunities.
Opportunities. That's right.
Every problem is an opportunity. So, like when you were talking about like Kindle businesses and a lot of solopreneurs emerging, I mean, let's face it, with these, what are we on, round 3 of stimulus or something? Like, this
hmm
money was like coming in. People were sitting on their asses on the couch, watching Prime and Netflix,
yeah.
bored off their minds. It's like, yeah, start a business, start a side hustle. This is a perfect time. It's like, oh man, how am I going to pay my bills? And this, it's like, no, this is an opportunity to find that fulfillment because let's face it, Artisha, okay? Over 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That's a
Yes.
fact.
Fact.
That's a fact. So there
Fact.
ain't no fucking fulfillment in that. I'll tell you that. There's no fulfillment in
Exactly.
that. To wait
Mm-hmm.
for your paycheck to pay your mortgage or put gas in the tank or go grocery shopping. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about you, but that doesn't sound like fulfillment. So that's great. That's great to hear. But I want to go back to the mental crisis thing because
Mm-hmm.
you said no record. There was no history, no history. And mind you, I'm so interested in this is because so how did you fathom this? Like no medical history? Like let's talk about this.
Listen, this is the absolute craziest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So 38. Okay, so wait a minute. I kind of glossed over a little bit to my next industry shift. So,
Mhm.
okay, rewind a little bit because this is funny. So, came to Georgia, got into healthcare because that makes sense. Like, we're a major, major medical hub. People are flown from all over the world to
Mhm.
see our doctors. We have research hospitals, all of that, huge, 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 and everything, and military, which that was not an option. Okay. So that was kind of a contract based thing. It got really weird with my supervisor, and that kind of went south. Okay. So then I was just like, okay, what's next? And these opportunities just kind of find themselves my way. And always been kind of a free spirit. So I'm like, okay, I'll try it. If they want to pay me, hey, I'll try
Yeah.
whatever. So the next thing, believe it or not, I got into bounty hunting and bail bonding. Yeah, don't listen.
Okay. That
We could
that
be here
that's a
all day.
total 360.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like, yeah, literally, right? And so, first of all, I will have to say the best boss ever, the most fun ever. Talking about, like, no holes barred, say anything. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not proud of this because I am a woman of faith and I consider myself, fairly conservative and chaste and all of those
Yeah.
things. But I mean, I never cursed so much in my life as I did at that job. Like, it was great. And it was so much fun because
Yeah.
we didn't really have to worry about just so many rules. The boss was just kind of like, get the paperwork signed and I don't
Yeah.
care. The paperwork is the money. So, you know, that was it. So that was a lot of fun. But believe it or not, especially as a girl in this
Yeah.
old boys club, there wasn't a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, now we're looking again. It's like, okay, I got to get out of this. Another opportunity comes about, and this was actually my last traditional job. So then we're going to segue
Yeah.
back to where we were. So I began working as, couldn't guess it, pretty girl on a construction site for a nuclear power plant. Oh yeah, I'm talking about
Nuclear
hard
power
hat.
plant.
Come on, hard hat, steel toe boots, that ugly
Wow.
yellow vest, the whole deal, like literally the whole deal, right?
Wow.
Booming industry here as well
Yeah.
that I never even thought about, but had a few family members in the industry and at that particular site,
Hmm.
and was able, and once again, literally lots of money. Ivan, one of the highest paying jobs in the area. So I was like, once again, if these people are going to give me their
Yeah.
money, I'm gonna go show up and take it.
Yeah.
So I went there, and I was miserable. Absolutely. Like, when I tell this story, I have to say soul sick. Like, I felt like I was sick on the inside. Like,
Yeah.
very happy on Thursday. We got paid on Thursday night / Friday.
Right.
Very
Payday.
happy, like, okay, good, but the other 6 days a week, miserable. And the
Miserable.
thing about it, we mandatory overtime. So now we're not only 50, we're as much as 60 hours per week. And
Ugh.
that's on top of a 45-minute commute one way.
Oh, so you're wasting 90 minutes of a day just commuting. Your round trip, basically, right?
Let me go you one better. Third shift. I was working 6
Oh.
p.m. to 6 a.m.
Oh, hell no. I've done graveyard. I'm never doing it again. I don't give a shit how much you pay me.
I'm saying, I'm serious. No, I'm serious. Unless I can literally go pick up the check and then come right back home. Like, no.
No.
so not worth it. But again, having the
Yeah.
past that I've had and just kind of in the financial situation that I was,
Yeah.
having always been an independent woman and now having a husband and feeling like I want to pull my own weight, look, secretly and mainly because I don't want nobody having to tell me, what to do, because just because you pay the bills, no, I'm still, you understand? So
No, I love the independence aspect, not to
hmm
interject. I absolutely
hmm
love that because
hmm
I think when you really step into independence, and a lot of people will never actually truly experience that. They might talk about it, but they will
right.
never truly experience it because there's sort of that scarcity mindset, I think, in part. And it's largely because if I step into independence, and I think a lot of women, that's why I'm so excited about rising fempreneurs, is because
Yes.
fempreneurs are amazing, man. I mean, like,
hmm
I go back to, I'm married, and like, anytime my wife brings something to the table, I'm like, there ain't nothing a man can do on this planet with a woman that's got a plan.
Tell me about it. That's
There
the
ain't
truth.
nothing with it, and we need more women. I mean, I think it was when GM hired their first female CEO a few
Mm.
years back that I
hmm
was just like, all right, we're like totally going into revolution here, but a good one too,
hmm
because I think the entrepreneurial space was largely dominated by males. It was a
Yes.
male sport largely,
Yes.
right? I mean,
Yes.
look at all the last 20 years. Warren
Yeah.
Buffett, Bill Gates. Now Elon Musk and what's his name? The Amazon CEO. I'm drawing a blank.
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos, right?
hmm
Of modern times. Where's the women?
hmm
Literally in that. So
hmm
like I'm excited about it because I think women bring diversity to the entrepreneurial space. I think
hmm
women bring creativity to the
Absolutely.
entrepreneurial space. And I
hmm
think women just bring a fresh perspective to it. So let's go back to talk. I want you to finish the thought, but I wanted to
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
for a second because all right, so 6 days of the week you're miserable, but that one day you're excited because who doesn't get excited on payday?
Yes, exactly. And so it was really, really crazy because, and I had a few keys. I'm a firm believer in these spiritual nudges. Life gives you little clues to, get a little escape, but it's just like if you don't
Yeah,
listen, you will suffer.
yeah.
And so things started happening. Like I've been in church literally my whole life. My grandfather helped build our local church here,
Hmm.
before I was even thought of. And so I started doing things like, falling asleep in church, but then I was falling asleep behind the wheel of a car. Like I would literally be on the highway, 3, 4, 5, depending on when we got off
Yeah.
in the morning, headed home and like wake up on the highway, like, oh my God, where am I? Like the craziest thing. So
Wow.
it was just like, okay, no matter what Thursday's paycheck looks like you got to get out of this, girl. And so I believe that God conspired against me. I believe
Yeah.
he was like, listen, enough is enough. Like this is not your place. And if you would really sit down, shut up and listen, then I will help you do what it is that
Amen.
you're meant to be. And for me, that I never took it as a punishment and I never ever got angry with God. I never turned my back on God. I had a lot of questions, but I believe that the medical crisis was my time that was designed for me to be still and be quiet and really tune into what I was always meant to do.
Yeah.
And so, again, from the construction job, I had the insurance card right in my pocket. Look, a designer wallet, you understand, full of money, full of all kind of
Yeah.
cards. I had never used this insurance card, Ivan. I don't say it to brag. You're young
Yeah.
and healthy, quote
Yeah.
unquote. I didn't even have a primary doctor at the time.
Yeah.
Crazy. So when which the crazy part is, what I thought was hay fever, okay, because the little symptoms started,
Yeah.
we're here in Georgia, started around October. And so it's kind of like a hacking cough, and the chest is tight and it feels weird. It didn't feel like a cold. And I was even fussing at people at work, like, don't act like that. I'm not contagious. This is not a cold. This is my allergy.
Yeah.
Because Trust me, I have all the allergies, literally every last one of them. And so it got progressively worse. And what I didn't know was happening at the time. So it turned into bronchitis. But then by the time I actually went to see someone, it was double pneumonia. I'm talking both lungs full, like danger zone. Like people don't know, or I won't say people don't know, but people don't realize or pay attention to the fact that pneumonia actually kills people. Like, COVID is the big devil out now, but pneumonia was killing people long before that. Like literally your lungs are full. You can't breathe. You aspirate.
Yeah.
So that was happening. And I never broke anything as a kid, never had a cast or anything like that. So again, at 38, first hospital stay ever, I said, hey, why not make it a big one? 8 days.
Oh, wow.
8 freaking days in the hospital first time around. Yeah. Go you one better. Listen, I'm my husband. We joke because I'm a one-upman. I'm like, nope, I go you one better. Thanksgiving. It was Thanksgiving. Yes. And I'm a fluffy girl. I love to eat. So it's just like stab me in my heart of all the things to do. It's just like Thanksgiving in the hospital. Are you kidding? And then just a little note about navigating the healthcare system in this country. Fun fact. I felt okay. So I had been in there for a few days. I felt okay. The numbers were starting to look okay, but they still had no idea. It wasn't COPD. No one could figure out why this young, healthy girl is all of a sudden having these problems. But they're like, okay, we're going to give you fluids to flush stuff out. And then we're going to give you all this other junk, to make sure the lungs are empty and out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I want to spend Thanksgiving with my family. Can I just, check myself out? And then if I have a problem, come back. She said, yeah, you absolutely can. But if you do, your insurance will not cover either visit because you did not stay under doctor's care. Fun fact.
What? Well, I mean, don't even get me into insurance because the amount of bullshit that's there and bureaucracy of that, well, how much of it really is theirs? Don't even get me started because being a father, being a husband, and going through all kinds of stuff, it's just like really. I almost feel like what you were saying is like, are you just trying to fatten your pockets? Basically, that's what that sounds like.
Yeah, it's not about people being healthy and not having to do this. It is about how much money you can make, how much medicine, whether it's drugs or services that you can push. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
Right.
So, but it got super crazy, Ivan. So this was, like I said, very first hospital stay. I didn't even know how to act. I was just like, this is insane. The doctors literally don't know. They have a term for when they don't know what's going on, when they don't know the cause. It's, what is it? I want to make sure I say it. I used to have it in my phone. It's idiopathic. Idio like idiot, which literally is the medical term for I don't know. Look it up. Idiopathic.
Idiopathic. I'm actually gonna Google that. Relating to or denoting any disease or condition which arises spontaneously or for which the cause is unknown. So the causes on, you know what? They actually have a fancy description for a word that stands for we're clueless, basically.
Yeah. Precisely. Yes. Ask me how I know.
That is insane.
Isn't it?
That's insane.
So that was November of 2017. So listen, I was back in the ER in December. They gave me some drugs, sent me home. I was back in the ER in January, March, and May. By the time this was really blowing up, 26 days in the hospital. I went into a coma twice. I lost 2 days each. Like it just was getting worse and worse, and they still didn't know what was going on. But thank the Lord. The last time that I was, in March, when they had to actually put me on an oxygen machine, crazy. I got referred to a specialist, and the doctor, and I really trusted this because this doctor referred me to a doctor at a completely different hospital, completely different practice. So I said, okay, if you're sending me away from your practice, your physician group, I trust you. And he spoke very well of them. So I said, okay, I'll listen to you and I'll go. And I have received amazing care since then. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. So after throwing a bunch of pills at me, after having to drag an oxygen tank around for months, they finally got a hold on it. And the
Yeah.
diagnosis was a pulmonary arterial hypertension. So the way I explained it to lay people, the way I had to understand it was all of my tubes, so they say, are too small. So the tubes in my heart are too small and the tubes in my lungs are too small. So all of my stuff is working way too hard for my
Um,
age and my system. So it's just crazy, 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 crazy.
wow.
Right. So
Yeah.
literally, go.
No, the only thing I was gonna, I mean, as you're describing this, is I can only imagine the emotions and the line of thinking that was probably happening because, I mean, and I can relate to is because, I mean, I think the only really surgery that I had was when I was like born, but that was like a very minor type of surgery. Nothing that had to
Okay.
do with like heart or lungs or anything.
Right.
Actually, it had to do on my toes is what it was because they thought one of my
Oh,
toes was wobbling. So they had
okay.
to, mind you, being Eastern European, you can imagine, the medicine back in 1980, right? In
Okay.
Eastern
Yeah.
Europe also. So
Hmm.
gladly they knew what the hell they were doing. Let's just put it that way. But other than
Hmm.
that, like, most of my life, in fact, I've never been hospitalized for anything. And so when you were talking about this, I can only imagine, like, probably what was going through your mind. Like, you start to question so much. Like, you
Yes.
wonder, what the hell is wrong with me? Like, why is this
Yes.
happening? Then your emotions shift to different stages of how you
Hmm.
perceive things to the point to
Hmm.
where you start to play the victim mindset
Yes.
almost. And so, like, I bet a lot of that was happening to you, right?
Yes, you go through states of panic. You definitely go through
Mm-hmm.
states of depression. And of course, you're like, why me? And during that time, I remember something that one of my cousins said to me, and she's a woman of faith also,
Mm-hmm.
and she had had some trouble with her husband at the time, who no longer is. And she said, she would just pray and be like, why am I going through this? Why me? Why me?
Yeah.
And she said the answer that she really felt in her heart, like it was coming from heaven to her, was, why not you? Why would you not be the person to survive this
Yeah.
and tell the story and help someone else? And that's just what came to be. And so that last hospital stay was a doozy. I was actually in the ICU. And so that stay was a total of 10 days. And when I tell you, I thought it was it, like I literally told my
Yeah.
husband and my mom, I was like, well, you call everybody, whoever wants to see me, just tell them to come see me because I really think this is it. I said, and quite frankly, after all of this, I'm done. I feel like,
Yeah.
I've traveled, I've lived, I've worked, I'm good. Like, if this is really it, I'm actually okay. I'm sick of this. And they were like,
Yeah.
don't talk like that, whatever. And so, across those 10 days, the longer I was there, it literally was like the light at the end of the tunnel, like a very dark, confusing time. I I felt like, okay, every day I woke up, I was just like, well, Lord, I'm still
Yeah.
here, so something's happening. And so right about that fourth day or so, I'm just like, okay, it doesn't look like this is going to be my time. It looks like I'm going to stick around here for a while. So I am going to give and share what I didn't necessarily have. I
Yeah.
am going to spread the message of love and light. I am going to tell people, don't be like me. Don't be looking down, facing death, and wishing you had done things differently. So, I mean, I begin to just love on and pray for and encourage everyone that came near my room at all. I'm talking about from the cafeteria,
Yeah.
folks delivering the meals, to the janitors, to the doctors and nurses themselves, everything. I always had a smile. I always asked about their families and everything. And so,
Yeah.
people began to know me all around the hospital. And I believe that that was actually instrumental in my healing, because by the time I left, things still weren't, back to 100%. They still had to wheel me out of there. I couldn't
Yeah.
walk out, but I was just so thankful that I wasn't being carried out in a box or a bag. And so,
Yeah.
um, from there, still trying to, actually get my body healed, I decided that this experience is so crazy. I have to write a book,
Yeah.
and which I'm still actually working on. The book that came out of me, which is why I say I motivate women and entrepreneurs to birth their books and their brands.
Hmm.
The first book that I birthed was one of centering and faith, because that is what really, the first few months out of that experience, that is what really held me together, was really, again, taking that quiet time, taking the time to affirm myself. Like, I had to make myself get up, look in the mirror, speak positively over my life. And I noticed that that literally had a healing effect on my body. And so I'm like, there's something to this. People need to know about this.
Yeah.
And so that led me to my first two projects that were kind of happening simultaneously, which what turned into the Bold Journeys podcast, the show that I created
Yep.
and host. And that started off as the jankiest Facebook Live you would ever want to see. It was so crazy because, mind you, I still have like the nasal cannula, that whole deal. I have this awful black mark, which if I get close enough, you can still see just a little bit here,
Hmm.
because I had an oxygen mask strapped to my face so tight that they
Oh,
panicked when I went into coma. And so there was this big
yeah.
black contusion. So I was just like, I'm not trying to be on anybody's camera. I just want to talk to the people. And I didn't know about
Yeah.
RSS and all of that at the time. I had no idea about Anchor, and Zoom was not nearly as popular as it is. And so I just began to build, and I'm just like, people need to hear this message. I'll never
Yeah.
get tired of telling this story. And so it has been really amazing. And so with that, I went on to get some education, because, people like you to have, letters behind your name. They like certifications and all that stuff. So I'm like, well, what does this kind of fall under?
Yeah.
Life coaching. So
Yeah.
I became a certified life coach, and the rest is almost history. I'm so thankful for the women and entrepreneurs that I
Yeah.
get to work with, and I help them along their purpose discovery journey, their entrepreneurial journey, and it's been a blast. It's been so crazy, but it's been a blast.
Yeah. It's there were a few things that you mentioned that I was trying to make mental notes on, and one of these days I'll actually start to write down, because people kind of describe their experiences, and to bring it full circle, because one of the things that we do talk about on this podcast is about entrepreneurship, but why our experiences and personal development and mindset are, and fitness and nutrition and holiness,
Yes.
fulfillment, are so essential to entrepreneurship. Why is because, and I personally have struggled with this. So to go way back to what you were saying, is when you were in the hospital and you were talking about how this is it, the lights are about to go out. Call everybody, the family,
Mm-hmm.
friends, come in. This might be the last time. I think one thing that I have discovered is that when adversity strikes you, and why adversity is so essential, is because it teaches you to be more humble and more grateful. And that
Mm-hmm.
is almost essential to what you're going to do later in life, what you're going to
Yes.
do as a person, what you're going to do spiritually, what you're going to do from a business standpoint. And
Yes.
business in reality is really just about problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's problem solving. And I think, anyone is capable. Anyone is capable of starting a business. But here's the caveat to this is that you got to know the purpose behind it. You got to be right mentally and spiritually. And if you ask me, from a nutritional and fitness standpoint, because here's why. For me, as someone like me, I've been a cyclist for 8 years now. And to this day, honestly, I still can't find a definitive answer as to why in the fuck I started cycling. I cannot. Literally,
Yeah.
8 years ago, I still have the same $300 bike. I'm hoping to actually invest into a carbon bike this year, because what started out as, let me cycle for 5 miles, to I'll cycle close to 70 in a week when the weather gets nice, because I live in St. Louis. It's the Midwest. And guess what? Today you could be wearing shorts. Tomorrow you got your freaking Eskimo gear on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the Midwest, right? But what I realized is fitness is more than just fitness. It's about mentality. It's about clarity.
Yes.
That was a big one. Then I'm an Eastern European, so I grew up on, you want chocolate? Eat chocolate. You want to eat 5 times a day? Eat 5 times a day. It's cool. It's cool. No, it's not cool. Add to that being an ex-smoker until 26. So I'm 41 now. I haven't smoked for that long, right?
Way to go. Way to go.
That is a suave move, right? But the reason why I wanted to expand on this is, as you were talking about, like, I think most people don't appreciate what they have. I think most of us as human beings, I know I personally, so much I took for granted majority of my life. And yes, I am lucky, knock on wood. Yes, I am blessed. Thank you, Lord. I have 2 kids to prove that, who are IVF kids, mind you, both of them.
Wow.
So like that was a journey in itself, which that might be a book in itself, actually.
Yeah,
just to talk about that. But as you were saying this, I think, and in recent, especially over the last couple of months, some things happened that really kind of solidified, the pursuit that I'm on. But that's what people need to understand. That's why this podcast has pivoted 3 times that I can remember, is to really find its true calling. To have people like you to share your experiences. And here's the thing, you said something, people need to hear this, is what you said. Why do people need to hear your story? Because it's a matter of one person that he might touch and change their life.
That's it.
When in this world that we live in, right, most people want to impact many, but they can't even impact one.
That's right. Absolutely.
That's the reality of it. And you know what? In entrepreneurship, in business, that's literally what it's about.
Yeah, especially marketing. Hello.
Exactly.
We know that. You have to have that targeted audience. You have to have that targeted message. You have to get the person to sit up and say, tell me more, or raise their hand and say, yes, I want it. And it's all about relating to people. A story will resonate with them. And I don't fancy myself any guru. I call myself the GGG, the ghetto girl gone global. And I will tell this story until my last breath. Okay. Because if I can do it, absolutely anybody can do it. Your vibe attracts your tribe. When you show up full as your authentic self, your people will literally flock to you. And what I found out, I spent years and years. Listen, I got my first job paid with a paycheck, not just some old lady just giving me some money to help her out, right? My first job with an actual paycheck at 14. Okay. I didn't stop working until I was 38, a traditional job. So I know what that is like. But what I do know is 2 things. Number one, and somebody can beat me up about this, but I stand on it firmly. You will never be wealthy, financially wealthy, working a traditional job, period. You just won't. So I'm a firm believer in ownership. But with that, if you seek the dollars, if you're running after the dollars, you've already started off wrong. It's already
Yeah.
tainted. But if you seek to help people, if you seek to serve people, the dollars will come. They
Yeah.
will. And I've lived that. I know that for an absolute fact.
You know, and so the only thing I wanted to respond with that really is you said it beautifully, flawlessly. The one thing I want to respond to that is you said relatability and how you attract like-minded people. So there is a reason why you are here today. There is a reason, not only because of God, but because of forces of nature, relatability, and proximity.
Yeah.
Because you are actually the third person out of 60 in the spreadsheet that I picked. Why did I pick that? Because I related to your story.
Yeah.
There was something that influenced me out of your story, just the sentiment, the choice of wording, the context, before even speaking to you.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. And this is literally marketing. This is the truest form of marketing before marketing was even marketing and what it is today. Marketing, how it was done hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. And personally, I'm a huge fan of that, is because I'm all about relatability and finding people who, well, you can relate to, because those are the people that just get it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I follow a lot of influential people online. The one constant I've seen is, don't try to sell to those who don't get it. Don't try to connect with people who just don't get it, because
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna spin your wheels trying to explain something to people who are not even gonna bother to get it.
Yes.
They're not even
Yeah.
gonna give you a minute of their day to even take initiative. The people that do, and just curious, not necessarily acknowledge, but curious and optimistic, are the ones you want to associate with, because those
Yes.
are movers and shakers. And I can tell
That's
you are
right.
a mover and shaker simply
Yeah.
by your story and your experiences. And I feel like your journey has just begun,
Oh yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And I
I'm
know we didn't
excited.
get a chance to talk about, you've got 2 books that you've written as well.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your podcast as well, which I think Bold Journeys, which that's with 2 Z's at the
Mm-hmm.
end as well, has its the character, the personality, the format behind that podcast was an extension, or is an extension, of who you are as an individual.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
with that being said, I gotta say, I very much like you, I'm a chatterbox, and I love, enticing conversations like yours. And we might have to think about a part 2, because there's still the book and the podcast and all of that to talk about. But before we sign off, first of all, I want to say thank you for coming on. Just you shared a wealth of, and I'm a huge sucker for anyone that is just willing to be, like you said, an open book,
Mm-hmm.
and be transparent, and just don't hold back. And you did every bit of that. So I want to thank you for that. It was an amazing conversation. Before we sign off, though, throw out some handles, social handles, websites, anything and everything you can think of, best ways for people to connect with you out there in the digital world.
Absolutely. First of all, Ivan, it's been my pleasure and honor. So thank you for having me. I'm glad that I went from just a name and a number in a spreadsheet to this great conversation. So there's so much more to my story. I hope that your listeners will be interested. And I would love for them to take a few minutes to visit my website, which is artishabolding.com. That's ARTISHABOLDING.com. I have more great interviews like the one with Ivan, and there's more information about the books as well as my coaching services. As I said, I am a certified life coach working with women and entrepreneurs, and I would absolutely love for folks to follow me on Facebook. I'm at artisha.bolding, and Instagram is just at Artisha Bolding. So it's been so much fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I got to make sure and caption all of this too as well with all the handles, all the great information, everything. You know how it goes. It's putting a description to a podcast episode. It's like, there's literally 100 things that I can put here. Like,
Yes.
what do I put here? It's like there's so much good. But Artisha, congratulations on everything. I know you've been through a lot. I appreciate you sharing your story, and I'm excited to see where you go from here. So thank you again for coming on.
Thank you again, Ivan. I really had a blast.